The sun was still high in the sky when I decided to go hiking alone in the forest. The air was crisp, the trail soft beneath my boots, and the only sounds were the rustle of wind in the trees and the occasional chirp of birds overhead. I had followed the path for a little over 3 miles, feeling confident, even relaxed. That's when I saw it, just beyond a thicket of brush and nestled below a rocky ridge, a large, dark cave mouth yawning open like an ancient secret. Curiosity nudged me. I didn't plan to go spelunking or anything crazy. Just peek into the entrance, maybe take a few pictures, and be on my way. The cave entrance was enormous, framed by jagged stone and thick moss, and it seemed to breathe cool, damp air from its depths. I stepped inside cautiously, just far enough to let my eyes adjust to the dimness. About 20 feet in, the ground began to slope, slick with moisture. My boot hit a patch of slimy moss, and before I could catch myself, I slipped, arms flailing, and fell. I tumbled fast, hitting a steep drop. My stomach lurched as I plunged about 20 feet straight down into darkness. I landed hard, the impact cushioned slightly by a thick, wet muck. The moment I stood up, I realized I was trapped. The pit was deep, and the walls were sheer. I looked up, sunlight a distant hole above, and tried to climb, but the mud sucked at my boots, and the walls offered no grip. The bottom was thick with more than 2 feet of squishy mud, crawling with insects. Cockroaches scuttled over my boots and up my legs. The air was thick with the sour stench of guano, bat droppings, sharp and putrid, making it hard to breathe without gagging. Panic started to creep in. My phone had no signal. I shouted, but my voice echoed hollowly through the stone walls. I was alone, in a place no one knew I'd gone, stuck in the bowels of a cave below a ridge I couldn't even see anymore. I tried to calm myself, focusing on slow breaths through my mouth to avoid the stench. I moved to the edge of the pit, where the mud was firmer, and sat down to conserve energy. I still had some water in my backpack, and my flashlight, thank God, still worked. There was only one option now: wait and hope someone would come looking. But the hours stretched on, and night was creeping in. The sound of bats fluttering overhead replaced birdsong, and the insects never stopped crawling. I screamed. God, I screamed so loud my throat burned. Help! Somebody! I'm down here! My voice echoed back at me, mocking, distant, empty. No reply, just silence. And then the darkness crept in. As night swallowed the last sliver of light from the entrance, I was left in total black. I couldn't see my hands in front of my face. My flashlight had dimmed to a flicker, barely useful, and with the darkness came the full horror of the pit. I tried to stay still, tried to rest, but the ground beneath me writhed. Insects, thousands of them, crawled through the mud, over my boots, into my clothes. Cockroaches clung to my jacket. Worms squirmed between my fingers when I tried to push them away. It was like the entire floor was alive, and I was a foreign object they were slowly testing and tasting. Sleep was impossible. I sat with my knees to my chest, eyes wide open, flinching at every brush against my skin. But that wasn't the worst part. It was the sounds. Somewhere deeper in the cave, past where I'd fallen, noises echoed faintly. Clicks, scraping, something shifting in the blackness. Maybe bats, maybe rats, maybe worse. It didn't sound like anything natural. It sounded curious, like something was listening. I counted the seconds to distract myself. Eventually the storm rolled in. Around midnight, the first rumble of thunder cracked overhead like the world was breaking apart. Lightning lit up the cave mouth above me in quick flashes, brief silver windows of the world I had lost. No rain, just thunder, rolling, constant, like drums from some ancient god. Then finally, rain. A few drops at first, then a steady patter, then a deafening roar. It was about 7 a.m. when the storm let loose, and it didn't hold back. I should have been relieved. Water meant life, right? But it also meant danger. The muddy ground at my feet turned softer, wetter. Then I heard it, rushing water, distant at first, but getting louder. The cave was funneling the rain straight into the pit I was trapped in. My heart dropped. I scrambled up the side, clawing at the walls. The mud offered no grip. I slipped again and again. Then the water came. It poured in violently, a muddy torrent that surged from cracks in the rock and from the cave mouth above. In minutes, the filthy mix of rain, dirt, and guano was waist-high and rising fast. I tried to brace myself against the flow, but it spun me in circles, smashing me against the cave wall. Panic gripped me. If this pit completely flooded, I'd either drown or be swept deeper into the cave, into the very belly of the mountain. No one would ever find me. But then, something strange happened. As the water kept rising, I began to float, just like in a swimming pool where you could make yourself stay afloat. My boots lifted from the mud. My body rose slowly with the water. I was terrified, but then I saw something. A jagged outcrop of rock, about 10 feet up the wall. It was the same one I'd tried to reach the night before. Now, the water was helping me get there. I kicked off the wall, paddling as best I could, letting the current push me higher. My fingers reached for the rock. The first time, I slipped. Again, I missed. Then, on the third try, my hand locked onto it. I pulled myself up and managed to grab another higher jagged outcrop of rock further above. With a scream of desperation, I pulled myself upward. My other hand found the ridge. I gritted my teeth, dug in my boots, and hauled my body over the edge. I collapsed onto the ledge, coughing, shivering, soaked in filth and mud, but I was out of the pit. I didn't wait. I crawled toward the cave mouth like a dying animal, feeling my way until I reached open air. Rain hammered down on me, but I didn't care. I was free. I rolled onto my back, letting the rain wash the mud and the insects off me. Lightning cracked across the sky, but it looked beautiful now. I had escaped death. The storm that had threatened to kill me had saved me instead. I never went near a cave again after that. I found the post on an abandoned spelunking forum late one night. One of those forums from the early 2000s, buried so deep it might as well be a cave itself. The thread title was, "Unmarked Cave, Never Go Alone." There were no replies, no context, just coordinates, and a rambling paragraph from a user named DepthSeeker88. It described a cave somewhere deep in the Blue Ridge Mountains, not on any map. Natural entrance, limestone throat, pitch dark by the third bend, the post read. If you hear breathing, turn back. I should have closed the tab, but I am an adrenaline junkie. No way I'm going to push this aside. 3 weeks later, after some sleuthing, hiking, and too many wrong turns, I found it. The cave mouth was half choked with roots and moss, barely 5 feet high. It looked like nothing, just a cold black mouth in the hillside. A casual hiker might walk past it and never know. But I knew. I turned on my headlamp, set up my safety gear, checked my backup batteries. I told no one where I was going. My phone had lost service miles ago, and then I entered. The first 20 minutes were exactly what I expected. Narrow crawl spaces, slick mineral walls, the distant sound of water dripping. The temperature dropped fast. Condensation formed on my gloves. I marked my route with chalk and ribbon. 100 feet in, I started to see deer or some animal bones. It was weird. Something has dragged the animals deep inside. But I pushed on. That's when I saw the first sign I wasn't the first one in. A cracked helmet, tucked into a crevice. Moss had grown around it, but the shape was unmistakable. Nearby, a rope ladder dangled into a pit, but the rope had rotted into threads. I didn't trust it. Deeper in, I found more relics. A rusted carabiner, a dented water flask, a boot, missing its sole, and then, tucked between two slabs of stone, a leather-bound notebook, nearly falling apart from age. I opened it. The first page was signed, Team Delta 9, June 1981. The entries were cheerful at first. They joked about the darkness, noted rare formations, and drew little maps. But about halfway through, the handwriting changed. Saw something past the fissure. Thought it was Jim. Not Jim. The notebook entries became more dramatic. Found scratches on the walls. Deep. Not man-made. Heard something breathing behind us. It never gets closer, but it never stops. The last few pages were smeared, unreadable, except for one. It only moves when the lights go out. Keep your lights on at all cost. I didn't believe it, of course. Probably an old joke. But then my headlamp flickered. Just once. A single blink. I stopped breathing and waited. Nothing. I pressed forward, heart racing harder now. Could feel the thing I am addicted now. Adrenaline. The tunnel narrowed and twisted into a chamber the size of a van. That's when I heard it. Crunch. Like footsteps on broken shells. Crunch. Coming from behind. I turned fast. Nothing there. My light cut through empty rock and shadows. I started backing away, slowly. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. Something pale, too low to the ground, dragging itself just behind a ridge of stone. I did not wait. I ran. I am not alone in this damn cave. The cave warped as I fled. I swear to God it shifted, and tunnels that had been wide were suddenly narrow. My chalk marks were gone, and my ribbons shredded. The walls pressed in tighter with each turn. Somehow I stumbled into another chamber and saw more signs of past explorers. A torn backpack, a cracked lantern, and a helmet with a shattered visor, smeared with something dark. I moved past it, shaking. I stopped for a few seconds to calm myself again. Could I just panicking for no reason and my mind playing tricks? I need to be sure now. I decided to switch off my headlamp for 2 seconds and immediately on it, but enough to make me drop to both knees in panic. When it came back on, I saw it. Something standing at the far edge of the chamber. Tall, gaunt. Its limbs were too long and its skin looked stretched and wet, like wax over a skeleton. No eyes, just folds of skin where a face should be. It twitched once, and then it moved really fast. I screamed and ran, my voice cracking off the walls. It was behind me. I could hear it, skittering, scraping, its limbs clicking on stone. As I ran, my gear snagged on a jagged wall. I ripped free, leaving part of my pack behind. The cave was closing in again, the tunnel a blur of rock and terror. I could hear its breath just behind me. Its fingers almost grabbed my gear. It was inches away. And then, light. Natural light, I didn't even think. I dove, burst through roots and mud, gasping like a drowning man. I landed on my back outside, the late afternoon sun burning my eyes. The thing didn't follow. I lay there for a long time, unable to move. The forest was quiet, peaceful. But the cave entrance, it seemed darker now, hungrier.